That's 800-648-9175.
It's time for Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid, highlighting, discussing, and focusing on women's athletics around the country. From the pros to the amateurs, from high schools to colleges, Sammy's got you covered. Join Power Hour now on the Cure Brand Hotline, 615-844-5600. 615-844-5600. Now, here's your host of Power Hour, Sammy Kincaid.
Welcome into Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid. I'm Sammy Kincaid in the Strike and Spare studio. Calling on the Cure hotline, 615-844-5600. 615-844-5600. We got a great lineup for you today. And Devlin, you get to join me early on again.
Rough morning for you. My goodness.
Yeah,
Stuck
just
in traffic.
a little piece of advice. Sorry, y'all, I'm a little out of breath. Don't take 40 today. If you were coming into Nashville, do not do it. It is a parking lot. But you know what? We're here. We made it. It's time to talk some ball.
Yep.
And I'm pumped. So we got some good games today. I mean, you got quite a bit of cupcakes, but you got some good games today. Let's start out in the SEC. Georgia at South Carolina. 11 a.m. kick. These are the games that I loved working when I worked for an athletic department, because you get in, you get out, and you're home to watch the late games. And this one, I don't think it's going to be much of a game.
No, I mean, Georgia's a 25-point favorite in this game. I could see it being even worse than that. I don't really see South Carolina competing. Georgia just looks like the same team as last year. Even though they got rid of a lot of their players in the first round of the NFL draft last year, they still look like they have not skipped a beat at all. So, I mean, I could see
they just
them,
reloaded.
Exactly. Yeah, they're back.
And with the defense, I think they're really going to have a day-to-day. Spencer Rattler,
No.
He's not living up to the hype.
No.
He is about to have it's about to be a murder scene. So
Spencer Rattler is not the guy. He has never been the guy. That's why he went to South Carolina, just to continue not being the guy. Give me Georgia.
But I think Stetson Bennett, I think he gets overlooked again,
100%.
just because that defense is just so strong. So I think Georgia's got that one. But let's go on to Oklahoma at Nebraska. We've talked a little bit about Nebraska the last couple of weeks because Scott Frost, he's finally gone.
Yeah, it's about time. It's crazy that they got rid of him before the Oklahoma game. I mean, I couldn't believe it, but at the same time, how much worse can you get?
And I've said it time and time again. Die the hero. He was the hero for Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Why go back to your alma mater and become that villain? I think Oklahoma's got this one as well. I think they really need a strong performance today. They got to get off to a quick start. It was not the start last week for Dylan Gabriel that he wanted, having to punt it 4 times. That offense, he has really got to take control of that offense and really get it going well, which I think with the history of him and Jeff Lebby, I think they're going to get it going. They just really have to find their groove.
Yeah, no doubt. I really don't see any positive outcome here for Nebraska. Oklahoma's an 11-point favorite. I could see that one being much worse.
Are you betting that one?
No, I'm not. I have a couple picks that I'm a little too confident about. That I'm almost so confident that I don't like them. If that makes sense. For those of you gamblers out there, that 100% makes sense.
Yeah, no. That's usually whenever you don't do well. I remember taking tests in school, and whenever you felt really confident, that's whenever you bombed it.
Exactly. That's literally exactly how I feel right now. Especially last week was brutal for me because I thought for sure Alabama would completely destroy Texas, and then here comes Texas. Turns out they're decent. Come within 1 point, and if they had Quinn Ewers the whole game, they might have won by 10 or 15 points. I mean, they look fantastic.
Yeah. So a top 25 matchup: BYU at Oregon, 2:30 kick. Who you got?
I love this game, and I love the fact this is actually one of the picks that I have. I love the fact that BYU is an underdog. Baylor's a great team. That was a great win for them last week. I think so, at least. Oregon has Bo Nix. He's not the guy. Sorry about it. Oregon should not be the favorite in this game. I like BYU a lot, and I think it's going to be a close game, but I think BYU comes out with it.
Absolutely. And I think just coming off of a double overtime win, they just got the momentum. Oregon has a lot to prove. Yes, they're coming off of a 70-14 win, but to a nobody. And after that week 1, against Georgia. They really need a good showing today, but I'm with you. I think BYU gets this one. Penn State at Auburn. You always talk about how this is your conference.
Yep.
You think they take it over the SEC?
This is definitely a big matchup. This is definitely a big SEC Big Ten representation matchup. Of course, I'm biased because I feel like since I've lived in the South, I almost represent the Big Ten as a whole. Like I always fight for the Big Ten teams, especially against the SEC. I don't know. It's not like I dislike the SEC. No, that's a lie. I dislike the SEC. Yeah, give me the Big Ten. I'm taking Penn State to win this game. It's going to be close. I mean, this is a great matchup. No matter if Auburn's unranked or Penn State is, this is just a good game. I like Penn State in this, but I'm also biased.
Auburn definitely needs to have a good game. They barely survived San Jose State. They really, really need to do well for this one. And I feel like if they're going to play well against any team, Penn State, their pass defense has not been well. So this is the game that Auburn can try to get their pass game going. But I really think that Tank Bigsby needs to have a good game to open up that pass game. So I think this one's going to really come down to both running backs for Penn State and Auburn. I think whoever has the better game between the running backs will end up determining the game.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State coming off 2 wins against Purdue and Ohio. I mean, Purdue's always a tough matchup in the Big Ten. They always play to their competition no matter what it is. I mean, I remember, I think 2016, Purdue ends up beating Ohio State. I mean, that was one of the most Purdue is just a competitive team. So, I mean, I think that's a great win for Penn State. Ohio, maybe not, but, I mean, either way. I think Penn State's properly ranked right now. I don't know if I believe Auburn should be or not, but, yeah, this is tough. I mean, I'll take Penn State in this game. It's going to be close.
Absolutely. And then let's go to my alma mater now. They had a big win over Pitt. That was the one that I think is going to set the tone for Tennessee for this season. I was saying it last week. That was the big game Coach Heupel had to get through mentally just because of the history of that matchup. And so now that I think that he's got that behind him, he can lead the Vols a lot more clear-minded. And, I mean, you just have to be able to handle business against Akron because you're about to start your SEC slate. You got Florida at home next week. You need to get every single kink just worked out while you have an easier matchup this week.
Yeah, I mean, this is Tennessee's easiest game. I mean, you might as well just put your third stringers in and see what they got. You're a 47-point favorite.
I don't know if I would do that, though, because you still had so many little mistakes from the offense and special teams. And Coach Hype, he's really big on all three phases of the team. And if it wasn't for defense against Pitt, Tennessee would not have come out with that win. So I think on the offensive side and special teams, you really have to work out some of those kinks before, even though Florida isn't looking all that great. Florida and Tennessee, that's always a game. I remember, I want to say it was my senior year, might have been junior year, but I think senior year at Tennessee, Florida was at Tennessee, and the final was 10-9. And, I mean, you never know how those games are going to go. It's always close. I remember it's actually one of my favorite memories in Neyland, and I got to go as a fan, which is rare. But went as a fan with my dad to Florida at Tennessee, and that was whenever Tennessee, Juwan Jennings ran it straight to us and left Tabor he was flat on his face chasing him to the end zone. So, I mean, there's some great games, and that was the largest comeback in history in Neyland Stadium.
Wow.
So you've got some really good matchups between Florida and Tennessee. It doesn't matter where they're ranked, how they're doing, it's always going to be a good game. So I think even though this is the easiest game on Tennessee's schedule this week, they have a lot that they need to focus on to make sure that they're ready for that next week.
Right. I mean, I know Tennessee does have a very tough schedule coming up, obviously, with the SEC games, like you said. I mean, what better game to work out those issues than this week against Akron? I mean, this might as well be a scrimmage for you. It's a pretty good opportunity for those players to come in, get a little bit more confident ahead of those SEC games. And I know probably the hardest game on their schedule's got to be Georgia, right? That's November 5th.
Right.
And that's in Athens, correct?
Correct.
Yep. I actually have tickets to that game, surprisingly.
Oh.
I'm hoping Tennessee has a couple wins. Maybe I can sell them, get a lot of money out of them. But Tennessee's got a long road ahead. So it definitely try to work on getting more confident, fixing those issues that they might have ahead of those games.
I really want to see Hendon Hooker. I mean, he had a game last week. What did he have? I mean, his QBR is 82. He still has 0 interceptions through the first couple games. And he had 325 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He ended up getting SEC Offensive Player of the Week. So, yes, he had a good game last week. But I am just not sold yet. I need him to have a couple more games like that. And then I will have a little bit more faith. But I really think that he will be key and needs to have a good game today before heading into SEC play.
You don't think Pitt was a prove-it game for him?
No.
Really?
I mean, it was. Yes,
Yeah.
it was. But I need to see more than 2 games.
Because if it was, I mean, he had a pretty good game. What is it, 27-42, 325 passing yards, 2 touchdowns?
No, that's what I'm saying. He had a
Yeah.
good game, but just need to see it a little bit more consistently.
Right.
Consistency is the big thing with him.
It's not an SEC matchup yet. I mean, if he can do that against Florida, if he can do that against Georgia somehow,
I wouldn't put it up against Georgia,
I was
but
gonna say.
but against Florida, just get a few more games like that and show some consistency. I think that's the one piece that they really need to be successful this season. But let's move on. Actually, I do have a fun fact for you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that this game was actually not on the schedule? Fun fact, this matchup got on the schedule because Danny White and Tennessee, they paid $100,000 to get out of the game with Army and their triple option offense.
Really?
Yes. So whenever they got to Tennessee, he paid $100,000. I mean, I guess they were saying, hey, we played them at UCF.
Yeah.
We don't want to play them anymore. So this game was actually not on the schedule. It was a
Wow.
late ad. So
That's
fun fact.
interesting.
Fun fact. Let's go to the other school that's in this lovely state, Vandy, in Nashville. So Vanderbilt will be at Northern Illinois. I almost said in Nashville because you feel like whenever you have a matchup like that team's gonna be it's gonna be a home game for Vandy. But no, they're at Northern Illinois for a 2:30 kick. I'm not gonna lie, working that game last week while we're sitting in there, we were saying Vandy's hanging in right now with Wake. They were hanging in there. Pretty impressed by Vandy and being able to hang around with them for as long as they did, even with Mike Wright, which I'm still high on Mike Wright. I think he's going to be great for them, and he did not even have a day. He really struggled against Wake Forest, and they ended up having to put the freshman A.J. Swan in, who ended up having 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. They put him in the second half, and I was very impressed with Vandy for how long they stuck around.
I honestly can't believe that Vanderbilt is an underdog in this game. I think they've looked great in the first few weeks that they've played. NIU, no matter if it is an away game or not, I mean, this is potentially Vanderbilt's last win of the season because they have a huge SEC schedule coming up.
You don't think they get Mizzou?
Maybe Alabama. Maybe. I think that's the only chance they have. No, this NIU game, I'm going to do what I usually don't. I'm going to take Vanderbilt to win this game. I'm not going to bet on it, but I am going to be rooting for Vanderbilt to win this game just so they can get their 3rd win of the season. But man, it's going to be close. But I like you said, I am high on Wright. I think he comes out and has a great game. Who is the Swan, correct? That's the other yes. Yeah.
Freshman quarterback, and he did well.
Yeah,
he came on, he stepped up, and he honestly kept it a game. So
I don't watch enough to know exactly what's going on in that Vanderbilt offense, but I'm rooting for a win.
Awesome. Well, again, you're listening to Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid in the Strike and Spare studio. Coming up after this break, we have Alyssa Berg. We're going to talk a little bit of flag football with her. She's in studio with me. So stick with us and call in on the Cure Hotline, 615-844-5600. We'll be back right after this.
The Omni Nashville Hotel, located 5th Avenue downtown, and proud sponsor of the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Game of the Week, is Nashville's premier destination for the highest quality accommodations. Start your day with a cup of Bongo Java and the Biscuit Bar at Kitchen Notes. Indulge your taste with the best beef in Music City at Bob's Steak and Chop House. And wrap yourself in luxury at Macara Day Spa before enjoying a nightcap at Barlines. And when it comes time to host those holiday partings and gatherings of family, let the Omni Nashville Hotel take all the worry off your plate. Proud sponsor of the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Game of the Week, and located in the heart of Music City, the Omni Nashville Hotel is your only choice. The Omni Nashville Hotel, 5th Avenue, downtown.
The debate about sports specialization by high school athletes continues. Some argue that high school athletes who play one sport all year long have a better chance of landing a lucrative pro contract. But that's simply not true. In fact, 30 of the 32 first-round picks in last year's NFL draft played more than one sport in high school. Of the 32 players drafted, 22 also participated in high school track and field. 19 also played basketball. Some also played baseball and lacrosse. What's the path to success for high school athletes here in Tennessee, no matter what their goals might be? Study hard, always do your best, and if you can, play more than one sport in high school. This message presented by the Tennessee Secondary School Athletic Association and the Tennessee Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Clean Cut Flooring is on the air reminding all Americans to stand tall and show support to the brave and honorable men and women of our U.S. military. Visit USO.org to see how you can send a military care package today. This proud salute is brought to you by Clean Cut Flooring. For all your flooring needs, don't call the rest, call the best at 615-900-6305. That's 615-900-6305. Clean Cut Flooring, saluting our troops and veterans. They're professionals who care.
What happens to your decision-making when you drink? Well, after one drink, you feel confident. A few more, and calling your ex at 1 a.m. seems like a great idea. And you're pretty sure the secret to a great taco is 4-day-old macaroni. The bottom line, drunk you doesn't make great decisions. So you're risking a DUI or worse if you count on him to get you home. Plan before you party. Get home safe. Paid for by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.
It's a Bill King Show.
I do acknowledge that the South's where the best football is played because it's a fact. I also appreciate the free flow of ideas. That's what makes our world wonderful, is the free flow of ideas. Robust debate. You disagreeing is wonderful. It's stimulating. If I'm an SEC snob to you, so be it.
Weekday mornings beginning at 6 on Sports Radio 560 on 95.9 FM.
Welcome back into Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid, and I just gotta first off mention Devlin, great music. You know I love Drake, and you got Drake going early on this morning. But if you're watching the video stream, you can see that I have an in-studio guest. Alyssa Berg is joining me for this week's This Girl Can. Welcome in, Alyssa.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Alyssa Berg. I'm a freshman in college. I go to Johnson University. And I'm here today to talk about flag football. I played my senior year of high school, and now I'm in college playing co-ed with the boys. So I played wide receiver and safety in high school, and it was the inaugural season, so we did really good, as girls playing what is a boy sport, which kind of stupid because girls can do it too. So I think we just proved that what can be a boy sport can be a girl sport too. And now I'm playing co-ed in college. I'm the only girl on my team, but these guys, they don't treat me any differently. They don't go easy on me. and I'm playing just as good, if not better, than them. So
I love the confidence. I love it. We'll get to what you're doing now in
Yeah.
college in just a second. But Chris Hughes, head coach at Fairview for the football team, is also the head coach of the flag football team. And you mentioned it was the inaugural season last year. And I'm not surprised that he was a part of the inaugural season. He is all about some flag football. And so what was it like whenever he's talking? I know the Titans partnered with Williamson County to start up this flag football league in Williamson County, but what was it like? What were those conversations whenever it was getting started? Did they go and recruit you guys? How did this work out?
Okay, so I moved to Fairview halfway through my senior year. So I was like a new student. I didn't really know anybody. And I think I was in PE and I was just like passing a football with one of my friends. And this girl came up to me and she's like, hey, you know they're doing a flag football team here, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, like that would be fun. It would be a great way to meet new people and everything. So, and it was amazing, like starting it. It's like we started history. It's the first season. So, and Chris Hughes, yes, he's an amazing coach. He loved us so much, and like it was like having like a second father. So it was amazing to be like part of something so like new.
Yeah, that was the first game that we did for Friday Night Rivals, was at Fairview,
yeah.
and he was talking about how he was trying to figure out the kicker position for his football team, and he was like, I might be pulling for my flag football team because the
Yeah.
girls are so good. Some of them were better than our guys. So it really speaks to, and especially being able that he coaches the guys and the girls, he can really see the difference between the two. And he said that he has a very sarcastic humor, and he was like, the girls were able to take things more than the guys were able to take it.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. So whenever you're on that inaugural season, you mentioned it, you guys had some success. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So we won a lot of games. I think we could have made it all the way. It was just like a couple passes that we missed, but yeah, I think we won all but 2 games. So we had the tournament at the Nissan Stadium, and I forgot what place we got, but we were so close to winning that, and I think that the girls now are going to win it this year. Like, I believe in them. So they've got some really good players like Lillian McElroy. She's amazing. I don't know if you've heard about her.
Oh, he's definitely mentioned her.
Yeah.
I think he was talking about, she was the one that he was ready to bring onto the football team.
Yeah, she can kick too. She plays soccer, so I know she gets a bunch of offers from other schools. I know that Alabama was talking to her about soccer, so she could definitely be a kicker. So
Absolutely. And what was it like playing in Nissan Stadium?
oh, it was amazing. I've never been, like before that, I've never been to any kind of football stadium. Never even been to a high school football game before that, because back in Texas, that's where I lived before. We didn't have football. So
Whoa, hold on. Back in Texas, you didn't have
Yeah.
football?
I know, Texas is a football state, and we didn't have football. I lived on a military base, so it was
Okay.
a really small school. So yeah, I've never been to a football game. My little brother, he played football like all his life, so that's kind of where I got it from. I'd pass with him and like help him practice.
Yeah.
So it was like, it's kind of crazy to think like I went from not even going to a football game to like being in football games.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Again, you're listening to Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid in the Strike and Spare studio. If you want to call in, the Cure hotline is 615-844-5600, 615-844-5600. And I have in studio with me right now Alyssa Berg, recent graduate from Fairview High School and now at Johnson University. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now. You mentioned it at the start that you are on a co-ed team, but you are the only girl that's making it co-ed, and you're really giving these guys a run for their money. Coach Hughes was telling me you had 2 picks last game, right? Or he was going through your stats. He was real proud. So why don't you go through a couple of those?
All right, yeah. So we only had 1 game so far, and I didn't even know any of the guys on my team. And like at first, of course, they were like, it's a girl, like she'll come in like third round. So that's what happened. I was like sitting out for a while, and then some guy was like, I need a break. So I was like, I got you. So I went in there, and like almost right away, I already had an interception, and like they were like, oh, she's actually pretty good. Like we should let her play more often. So I ended up playing like pretty much the rest of the game. I had like overall 2 interceptions, a touchdown, I think 2 2-point conversions, and a lot of flag pulls. So I don't know, I showed those boys what was up.
And what have you really learned from playing with the guys now in the college level?
It's like, it's almost just like you watch guys playing football, and it's like almost like you feel like as a girl, you feel like you can't like play with them. Like maybe it's too tough, or like maybe you're just not good enough. But like I think that like now that's starting to change. Like hopefully after this, more girls start to play, because like they don't even take it easy on me. Like I remember when I got my interception, like guy like ripped my shorts trying to pull my flag. But it's just amazing. They don't take it easy on you. It's just I can play with them and feel like not feel like a guy, but feel like equal to them.
I love that how you worded that you feel equal to them.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. That's the whole point of this show, is to give women that opportunity to be able to have that place to talk about sports, because females in sports are just as knowledgeable as men. There's a lot of guys in the industry that never played, and here you are actually playing, and probably more knowledgeable than a lot of the guys that are in the industry. So really impressive. But if you are talking to somebody younger, a girl that's wanting to get involved, that's younger, what's your one piece of advice to her?
I guess just don't let anything stop you. Like don't let words stop you. Don't let just like I don't know how to describe it. Like how I felt, like thinking I couldn't play what is quote unquote a boy sport, and then just showing out like a lot of us girls did. Like we can like be just as good, if not better, than guys. So
absolutely. And how was Coach Hughes? It seems like, because he said that you texted him your stats after that game, really proud, and you mentioned that he's like a dad to you. How have people like him been an influence in you going and playing at the next level?
I think if it weren't for Coach Hughes, I wouldn't be playing at college right now. So I was so scared joining this high school football team. I didn't even know most people on that team, but I just felt like I belonged on that team, especially with Coach Hughes. He made sure that he made sure everybody had playing time, and he made sure everybody was okay, like checked in on everybody. And it's like that relationship that I feel like I'm going to have for a long time. And I just remember after I played that first game at college, like he was the first person I wanted to text and let him know how it went. So
that's awesome. And again, you're listening again. I'm sitting with Alyssa Berg, Fairview High School alum, now playing flag football with the fellas at Johnson University, and really just giving them a run for their money. And with playing what you said, a quote-unquote boy sport, a guy's sport, what have you really learned from being on a team, not necessarily with the guys, but just being on a team in general, where you didn't have that in Texas, which is still mind-boggling? It's different because you were living on a military base, but it's still just mind-boggling. But what have you learned from that team atmosphere?
Honestly, I've learned a lot about respect. Like, these guys are very respectful to me. Chris Hughes, he talks about how he met his wife through flag football. So I'm not looking for a husband, but these guys are so nice to me. Like, not one of them singles me out for being a girl. So, and even just not even about the guys. It's just feels like family. I love playing flag football, and I've been playing basketball all my life. And I might even be playing at Johnson University. I've been talking with the coach, but to be honest, I'd throw that away for flag football. It's so fun. So,
no, that's incredible. And what have you learned that you can take and apply? I'm pretty sure you said you're undecided right now, right? Or do you?
I'm gonna be early childhood education.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So how have you taken what you've learned from sport to apply it to that?
This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I do want to be a coach whenever I get older for like little kids. So teacher, coach, like at the same school probably. So I mean, I love helping kids. Like it's one of my favorite things. Like at-risk youth. I'm doing an internship for a place called Thrive in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's just helping at-risk youth like grow academically, physically, and spiritually. So I want to like continue that. I want to help at-risk youth with sports, with education. I want to start my own business. Like I'm so excited for my future.
No, that's really exciting. That's incredible work that you're doing, and how important, I mean, it sounds like it's very important, but how important is it to you to give back to the community, especially whenever you've kind of gone out on a limb and you're a female in the man's sport, and you've probably had a lot of people rally around you. So now what does it mean to you to be able to rally around a community?
It's amazing. I'm so excited to show like what I can do with playing a boys sport.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna keep you around if that's okay.
Yes.
And we'll get more into that in just a second. But you're listening into Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid in the Strike and Spare studio. Whenever we come back, Alyssa Berg is going to stick around with us, and we'll also have Taylor Beecher on. She's going to talk about surfing to sports journalism.
Are you tired of your current vehicle? Maybe looking for a new or pre-owned vehicle? Hey guys, it's Zach. Hayes Nissan of Rivergate is the best choice for your vehicle needs. Located at 1550 Gallatin Pike North in Madison, Hayes Nissan of Rivergate has been serving the Middle Tennessee community for over 3 decades. That gives you confidence that Hayes Nissan of Rivergate can find the perfect vehicle for your lifestyle and your budget. Their friendly and knowledgeable staff will make sure you are taken care of. I should know because I've seen it firsthand. Every vehicle I've purchased has been from Hayes Nissan of Rivergate, and I love the entire process. Now, I don't want you to forget about their award-winning parts and service department. It has everything you need to get you back on the road. Go visit them on the web at nissanofrivergate.com. They're open there 24/7, 365 days a year. Or give them a call at 615-865-7220. Again, that number is 615-865-7220. That's Hayes Nissan of Rivergate, where your dollar always goes farther.
Attention homeowners that have ever had a broken appliance. That's a joke, right? We've all had broken appliances. I own a home just like you and have found a way for as little as $1 a day to have all the major appliances in my home on a warranty plan. They're guaranteed to be fixed or replaced. You know how expensive an air conditioner, the heating system, a washing machine, dryer, water heater, or refrigerator can be. For about $1 a day, all your major appliances are protected in case they break. Unless you're Daddy Warbucks or the Monopoly guy and you don't care about money, call my friends at the Home Service Club now and get a warranty on your major appliances. It's a free call and the first month is free. But be one of the first 25 people to call within the next 10 minutes.
800-870-6217. 800-870-6217. 800-870-6217. That's 800-870-6217.
Whether it's getting your day started with a clear mind, taking the edge off after a busy day, or hitting the reset button at night, Cure helps us be our most productive selves. Completely organic and free of THC, pesticides, and heavy metals, Cure focuses on specific need states with great tasting CBD products designed to help you focus, chill, and sleep. And that is exactly what the Cure brand products are named. Focus, chill, and sleep. Now available at select MAPCO locations. Visit thecurebrand.com to learn more and follow them on social media.
Golfers, tee it up this fall at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for big savings. Save up to $150 off on Ping G425 woods. Upgrade your gear with discounted Wilson stand and cart golf bags. And stock up on TaylorMade Distance Plus golf balls, now 2 dozen for $35. Don't miss these items and more happening now at Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get a free custom fitting today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, or shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
Join us Friday night, September 16th for WNSR's Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Game of the Week. It's Columbia Academy at Donaldson Christian. High school football coverage begins at 6:15 with Murphy Fair's Matchups Preview Show. Pre-game coverage of Columbia Academy at DCA commences at 6:45, followed by our Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Scoreboard Show. After the game, hosted by Bruno Reagan, Ray Dosky, and Devlin McKenzie. It's Columbia Academy at DCA, right here on Nashville Sports Radio.
Welcome back into Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid. I'm Sammy Kincaid in the Strike and Spare studio, and I think that producer Devlin's got a side gig going over here. I think, is going to be a DJ.
I'm having way too much fun over here.
And so you got me, producer Devlin, and Alyssa Berg, who you just heard from, a Fairview High School alum now playing flag football at Johnson University. And we got a fourth person joining us now for Shattered Ceilings. I am excited to welcome in Taylor Beecher. How you doing, Taylor?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on, Sammy.
Absolutely. Welcome to the party this morning. And why don't you tell the listeners just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am now, let's go to the beginning. I grew up in a surfing household, so when we had the opportunity to move to Costa Rica, that's where we set ourselves off to. So we grew up over there, surfing with some of the best in the world, and I got to travel with some of my best friends just, at the age of 13, traveling across the world just to surf and do competitions. And then when I was in the middle of training, I ended up hurting my knee one day really bad, and it wasn't until I didn't know the severity of it until I moved back to the States. But it did take a big pause in my career and my love for surfing, but it didn't really stop the passion for it. So I ended up just, one day I was resting and I was at our surf shop and my dad was like, go and pick up a camera and just go out and shoot the team. I was like, what? Like, okay, I don't even know how to use a camera. And I literally remember telling people, I will never be a photographer because I just don't do that stuff. And long story short, I ended up putting out one video, and the town kind of exploded across the country, and I ended up creating a name for myself at the time. It was Kook World Productions, and I started going to competitions, and I had people coming up to me because they would see me on the beach filming, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool what you do, but have you ever seen this person's page, Kook World Productions? Their work is so good. Man, he's so good. They kept saying he. And I was like, well, I'm a female, and that is actually me. That is my page. So I ended up having to change my name and ended up moving back to Florida and started going to college for film. Ended up in sports marketing and media and interning for Orlando City and UCF athletic department, and then ended up at a job with IndyCar. So now I find myself in Colorado. I do freelancing, but I'm also now a mom, and, I just kind of do some more sports stuff on the side now and try to manage my time with it all.
Absolutely. And that's why I wanted Alyssa to stick around, because you mentioned it. They kept saying he. And with surfing, there are a lot of female surfers, but you both were kind of thriving and are thriving in that male. All of sports are really male dominated, but specifically with football and also surfing. So I wanted to keep her around for this conversation as well, just because it is so unique. And so you touched a little bit on it. You traveled around the world for surfing. You were pretty good at surfing. And for those that you said you interned at UCF. Taylor was one of my interns at UCF, and she was just your work ethic was absolutely incredible. And the stories that you would tell us on every single shoot, my mind was blown. What all of your Costa Rica stories. So you mentioned that you went around the world, but you didn't mention how good of a surfer you were. You were basically a young professional in it.
Yeah, I really wouldn't say that like I was on like the top rankings in the world, but when we were, in the country as far as that goes, like I was helping travel, like going around traveling on the national circuit. But yeah, I mean, it was, as far as male dominated, surfing is like male dominated. Luckily they've made, broken some glass ceilings for the women pay being equal on tour. But nothing compared to the football. Nothing.
So, but what would you say, since, it's probably a few years age gap between the two of you. What have you learned, Taylor, from being in such a male dominated, now that Alyssa, I don't know if you were listening in last segment, but she's playing flag football and she's the only female on her co-ed flag football team. So what have you learned, that she or other people that could really apply from being in such a male-dominated space, and especially whenever you had those people coming up to you saying, hey, have you seen this guy's page? It's so great.
Yeah, so when I would go on tour, like, it was all men, and I had a few female friends, but it was like a lot of the photographers were male-dominated, and then also, like, traveling with them, it can be a little discouraging because it feels like you don't really sometimes have somebody to kind of click and get where you are as a female in the industry. But one thing that kept pushing me through is like, ignore it. If you set your sight on like something and you know where you're going, like people are going to recognize that, and you just got to hustle through it and, ignore what everyone else is thinking, saying, because if you did that, then like you're not going to get anywhere. But, like, she's in a really special spot in her career, so, why not keep pushing through and keep doing what she's been doing? Obviously, it's been working,
By the way, sorry, this is Alyssa, and thank you so much. I completely relate to you. Like, I've had a lot of guys, especially, tell me, like, that's a boys' sport. Like, you girls aren't going to go anywhere far. Like, us boys could still, like, beat you, like, all this stuff. But I think we're proving them wrong. As girls, like, we're, like, starting history and just, like, showing guys that we can do what they do.
Absolutely. And I love, Taylor, that you mentioned ignore the noise. I think that's so big for a lot of women in sports. You just kind of have to ignore the noise and just focus on your job and what you're doing, whether it's your job or even, playing. That's your job too, So I think that's so big. But one thing that we were talking about with Alyssa right before we went to the last break was what she's doing in Knoxville. And Taylor, this is, I know that you moved out to Colorado for very similar. And so we're going to talk about it as soon as we come back on the other side of this break. But I think it's going to be really incredible to hear the similarities between you two. So again, you're listening into Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid in the Strike and Spare studio. And we will be right back after this break.
Have you ever wanted to learn a new language like French, Spanish, or Russian, but thought it would be too difficult and time-consuming? Then try Babbel. Text TRY to 484848 and try it for free. Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you will actually use. In 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel uses a modern conversation-based technique that makes language engaging, fun, and memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then, sentences gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. Babbel is created by language experts who use the spaced repetition method to help you learn quickly and remember what you learned. With Babbel, you can speak a new language. Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel free. Just text TRY to 484848 and start learning a new language today. That's TRY to 484848. TRY to 484848.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the Grads of Life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Whoa, are you kidding me?
There's plenty of game left. Just chill out. If you're too riled up, you won't ever get to sleep tonight.
How can I chill out when I have to put up with this every single week?
Oh, and he gets picked off. Interception.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Okay, that's enough. Here, try these cannabis products from Lab Canna. And these heightened Delta 8 gummies and Karma Calming Caramels will help put you in a better state of mind.
Whether you win or lose, make every game day better with cannabis products from Lab Canna. Learn more today at labcanna.com.
Hey, it's Sammy Kincaid, host of Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid. Every Saturday morning from 9 to 10, listen in as I highlight women in sports from high school to the pros, athletes and administrators. And you know what? Let's talk some ball with women covering the game across the country. Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid is every Saturday morning. Listen in on Nashville Sports Radio from 9 to 10 a.m. I like it, Devlin. You got the good vibes going to close out the show. I'm telling you, you've missed your calling. I mean, a DJ. It's what you're called to do.
I got weekends. I got weekend nights open. I might just find myself on Broadway here soon.
Well, let's talk about calling because Taylor Beecher is still joining us for Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid in the Strike and Spare studio. I have with me Alyssa Berg. It is a party this morning with all four of us. So let's talk about calling. Taylor, you just moved out to Colorado. You mentioned you're a new mom. So there's finding that new normal, and you're still freelancing in sports. And if you haven't checked out her social media, she takes some incredible photos. So check that out. Really talented sports photographer. But you're calling to Colorado. It was very similar to what it sounds. You and Alyssa seem like you have very similar calling. So Alyssa, let's start with you, and then Taylor, why don't you give us a little bit more about what you're doing? So Alyssa, you mentioned that you're working with the youth in Knoxville.
Yes. So I go to Johnson University, which is a Christian university. And near Johnson, there's a place called Thrive. And it's a program for at-risk youth, like to help them academically, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So our goal, I'm interning there, so our goal is to just help these kids grow in their faith, and also just have kind of a support system with the other kids and then the teachers there. So that definitely, I feel was a calling for me from God. So I'm really excited to be doing that, and I've heard that you also moved to Colorado for kind of a similar situation.
Yeah, so Really, and I think it was about 3 months after we had our baby, and
Not a chaotic time in your life at all.
yeah, exactly. And we were like, we got to get out of this kind of comfortability. We felt God calling us out of this like comfort. And Colorado, there was a lot of things that led up to it. Why Colorado? But one of the biggest reasons was it was just God showing us, and not only in Scripture, but through people calling us from Colorado, family members we didn't know we had, and really just like talking to God about it. And I remember just saying, like, all of my family's in Florida. Like, I really would never move to Colorado. That is like, even though I've traveled to like third world countries, I've never been over across to the west of the United States. And my husband and I were like, okay, like, let's just pray about it. And next thing you know, like, I think it was within a month, and we had packed up not only like all of our newborn stuff, but like our house, and put it in a U-Haul and moved over to Colorado. And when I tell you, it was like just on a whim. Like, it was very shocking to people. Nobody was expecting it. We did get a lot of pushback from it, but it was just, when you know that you're called to do something, like, you got to go up and do it. And, now after adjusting to life over here for a little bit, now my husband, Adrian, his biggest passion is just helping people, and mine serving people as well. And he now is finding himself, coaching a high school football team over here. And what's great about it is, he came up from a really, really hard childhood. He grew up in foster care, and he understands what some of these kids are walking through at this high school. They're coming from really hard homes. So the fact that he's able to pour into these kids, and you can just tell that they like need this love, and you can hear the heart that he has for these kids. So really pouring into the youth, like, Alyssa, I think that is just one of the greatest honors you can have, but also, like, it's challenging at times, but it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
I love that both of you are really pouring into the youth, though, and using sport as well to help them find a place and learn a lot through sport in life. But let's also talk about Taylor. You also do a ton with sports still. I mean, you're juggling being a new mom. You mentioned one thing about Taylor, whenever she was interning for me, you mentioned it. It was within a month you were packed up and moved to Colorado. If Taylor wants to do something, it is flip of a switch. Okay, let's do it. Let's go. Okay, let's figure this out. It's gonna happen very, very quickly. And I've always loved that about you, Taylor, that you're always up for anything. And that rang true for your move. I remember the text where you said, "So we got to talk. There's some things changing," but you have continued to freelance. And so, what does that schedule kind of look like for you now?
So, I don't really have any jobs personally lined up. If anything, I'm going out to these games and voluntarily shooting them, which, is great for me because I'm still able to get my foot in sports and stuff. But yeah, with juggling it is sometimes crazy. I mean, my husband, he has his non-profit sports organization, so they're a news media outlet. So, as a professional, I'm able to work under them sometimes, and I'm able to, if I want to go cover a college football game, NFL, like, I'm able to have that outlet, which is really great, and my husband can just watch the baby. But, also there's, the mom guilt that could play into it sometimes, but, yeah, I mean, it's been definitely new. It's not the same where I can just pick up and just go. It's just kind of got to all be planned now, but I think the saying, it's like, you got to stop things you love when you have a baby. It's like, I don't think that's really true, because I feel like we're in a position to be a role model for our kids. And you know, if you're wanting to show them that you can do anything despite any challenges that arise, it's like you got to keep going and doing it. And so I think that's really why, like, we keep doing college sports and covering it and just professional sports in general, because it's just, we want our daughter to see that and for that to be available for her even if she doesn't want it.
I love that. And there's so much with talking about being a new mom and being that role model for our daughters. And I think it's so cool what they can see, what we're doing in sport. And eventually, maybe one day, you were telling you're not looking for the husband right now, Alyssa, but maybe one day. But I really appreciate both of you joining me today. Really real conversations that have been very enjoyable, and I hope that all of you listening have enjoyed it as well. And thank you all for listening into Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid. And for me, Devlin, Alyssa, and Taylor, that's what we got for today. We'll talk to you next week.
ABC News, I'm Mark Remillard. After Florida Governor Ron DeSantis chartered flights to move migrants from Texas and deliver them to Martha's Vineyard, the White House calling DeSantis' actions political theater.
President Biden is now blasting Republicans for using human lives as political props, saying it is simply wrong. The president insists that there is a process in place to manage migrants at the border and that these political stunts are slowing down that process. As to whether the administration will pursue any legal action against Republican governors for how they transported these migrants, the White House is deferring to the Justice Department.
ABC's Maria Villarreal. The Department of Justice asking a federal appeals court to overturn a lower court's order that's blocking the department from accessing the classified materials recovered from Mar-a-Lago. The DOJ says it needs the classified records as part of its criminal investigation. Tropical Storm Fiona bearing down on the Caribbean, Puerto Rico bracing for heavy rains that could trigger